How bad can it be, asks Nathalie about the wonderful array of colors, textures, and tastes in today's menu of spicy eggplant spread, the unusual main dish of root vegetables with pork tenderloin, and a wonderful, refreshing, spicy asparagus salad. An irresistible and easy recipe for nearly French bread is the bonus of a menu featuring dishes with a real feeling of abundance.
Hello. Wanted to show you how to make some nearly French bread today. These 2 loaves of bread will be very nice for you to have on hand. They'll freeze. You can make them in advance, pull them out when you need them, or of course you can start them early in the day and serve them much later on in the day. I like to use active dry yeast when I know that I'm going to be home, rather than using a rapid rise yeast, because in fact it's much easier for me to go ahead and make my bread and let it rise and knock it down, or even throw it in the refrigerator and let it sit, than it is to make it, shape it right away, and then keep eyeballing it to see if it's ready to go in the oven. It's different things for different people. I've got 2 packages of yeast in there and some sugar, and it likes to eat that sugar. It makes it foamy and lets it rise. Here it is with the yeast foamy and having risen. This is called proofing it. It's proofed that it's alive, but really all you want to do is dissolve it. Now the yeast should be in warm water. That's about 105 to 115 degrees. Much more than that, it'll kill it. Much less than that, and it really won't rise the same way, because it needs all of those things, warmth and sugar, to rise to its fullest. I normally, almost always really, make bread in the food processor. But you can use a mixer, or do it by hand, or why not use one of those bread machines? Each one of them has a different set of timings. What I like about this is that I can make it in a minute and then just let it rise. I'm always interested in things fast. Now, this calls for 3½ cups of bread flour, a teaspoon of salt. Bread flour has a more gluten structure, and it'll give you a nicer, fuller bread than an all-purpose flour. And then let's go ahead here and put this with the yeast mixer in the bowl of the food processor and turn it on. Now, I use the steel blade. Many other people use there's an actual plastic blade that they call the dough blade, and it's shorter, so the dough rides on the blade a little differently. It's perfectly okay to use either one as far as I'm concerned, and my bread turns out fine. I just don't like going under the counter for things. I feel like if I can't leave my food processor out, if I can't leave it with the blade in it, that I don't use it as much. So that's why I use this blade. It's the one I have out. You knead it for about a minute, and you process or kneading it, adding more flour as necessary, until the dough is smooth and elastic and soft like a baby's bottom. And it's not quite bouncing back yet. Let me give it just a second more. Turn it off. This is not quite done enough. See these little pieces here? They don't mean a thing, except that perhaps you might have a little too much flour for the moment, and you just pull them together. Let me show you how to knead. You would flour your surface if you didn't think that you had enough flour. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes by hand, but this is the process that you would use to knead it, pulling it inside out, inside out. And this is just about right. Touch it, and it bounces back. A little sluggish. A few minutes more wouldn't hurt. Maybe 30 seconds more in the food processor. Put it in an oiled plastic bag or a bowl, in which point you would turn it to coat. You cover it because you don't want it to form a skin. It's alive. You don't want it to get cold. So drop my diamond again. Put it in a warm place and let it double. Now, actually, we put this in the refrigerator because it was done ahead of time, and we were trying to slow it down. And anytime you want to, you can knock a dough down. I'll show you that, but this is the way you know that it's risen enough, is if you put 2 fingers in it and they don't come back. It's the opposite of the other. But anytime you want to, hear that air going out of it, you can punch it down and put it back in the refrigerator, and it'll last. You can do that over a period of a couple days if you need to. In fact, sometimes it'll last 3 or 4 days, almost a week. The longer you leave it in there, as long as it has something to eat, the fuller flavored your yeast will be, because it attracts all the wild yeast cell in the air, and they have a party. Have a good time in there. And let's go now and shape it into 2 long loaves. And different people say different things. Some people say you should never cut dough. You should always tear it. It's really up to you. There are several different ways of shaping it. I'm just going to take this and see if I can get it started to roll it for you so you can see this method. But you want to keep it very tight there so that one part of the yeast goes into the other. Sprinkle it on a cornmeal sheet. Here we go. Sheet of cornmeal on top of a baking sheet. I'm not going to say it right. And let it double again, about 45 minutes. And sometimes I just take and roll the whole thing like this too. There are lots of different ways of shaping dough, and you'll find one that you like the best. I don't like it when it shows the little round spirals from having been shaped, though. Let it double, and then go ahead and put it in the oven after it's doubled. It takes it less time to double the second time than it does the first time. Then you go ahead and brush it on the loaves when they're doubled. So here you are, just like magic. And these 2 have been in the refrigerator waiting for us. Then with a sharp knife, just slash the tops. Let me see what my nice sharpest knife is that I have out here. I can't keep seeming to grab only a bread knife. And you see, this skin is hard because it hasn't been covered in the refrigerator. Now, actually, I kind of like a hard top on it the second rise around, because for French bread particularly, it gives it a little more crustiness, I think. But if you didn't want that, you could put something like this on top of it, put damp tea towel on the top over it like that, and that would protect it. Now, put it in the middle of a 400-degree oven. See if I can get it in there right. And then put in a small cake pan or a small other pan of boiling water. This should be boiling on the bottom rack. There we go. Get yours in level, won't you? Now you bake it until crisp and the bottoms sound hollow when tapped. It's about 20 to 25 minutes. And then take it out and cool it on racks. And for this, we all owe Julia Childs, that wonderful, wonderful French chef, a debt of thanks, because in Mastering the Art of Cooking, I think it is, volume 2, I think, she says that if you get that to 200 degrees, then you'll know that your loaves are cooked enough. So get it to 200 degrees, but also should bounce back. Now, if your loaves stay around long enough to get stale, and of course your family should be eating them right away, and they do freeze, run them quickly. And when you're pulling them out of the freezer too, just reheat them in a 400-degree oven. But if they're stale, run them quickly under some running water, pop them in the oven at 400 degrees, and this will re-crisp them. Usually this will only work once, though, so can't be lucky. Now, here are some onions. These are Texas sweets that somebody sent me, and they sent me that with a mesh. Texas sweet people. Just wanted to show you how you're supposed to technically store onions, particularly these very sweet ones. See, there you are. And then you tie up. Now, in Vidalia, Georgia, what they tell us is to put them in pantyhose, clean pantyhose, and tie the knot and hang them. Either way, it's kind of eerie to walk downstairs with all those things hanging, however, in your basement, in your cool basement. Okay, spicy eggplant spread. Chop all your onions at once, and I'm going to show you that later. I'm going to cook these. These are really in big hunks, and cook onions and garlic together until they're nice and soft. This was originally a side dish. Then I reheated it the next day, and everybody loved it, just reheated in the microwave. And the third time around, I use it as a spread for crackers. So you got your half-inch cubes of onions, you got garlic chopped, and I'll show you that in a minute. Cut your eggplant in half. Run it in the oven on a baking sheet covered with foil, cut side down. Bake it at 400 degrees until it's soft, about 30 to 45 minutes. Then set it aside to cool. Or you can grill it, you know, if you have some coals going, you can grill it if you're lucky enough to have a grill going. And then whenever I heat the grill, I throw something on to finish it off, and usually it's an eggplant or a red pepper or something like that. Then when it's cool enough to handle, you peel it, and you cut the pulp into large chunks. I'm just going to scoop it out, but you can cut it into chunks or spoon it out like that. Now, you can refrigerate this eggplant for a day or two at this time and do several different things with it if you want to. Got your onions cooked in hot oil for 2 to 3 minutes. Cook your garlic till it's soft. Would have helped if I put it on top of the going burner. Then you add your eggplant chunks. Some ground coriander. Some turmeric. I got it on the hot burner now. And some sugar. And cook it. That's just to bring out that flavor. You can leave that sugar out if you're terrified of getting fat, but I think it'll be good. And cook it till it's soft, about 5 to 10 minutes. Then stir in the yogurt off the heat and season it to taste with salt and pepper. You can reheat it, but don't let it boil. But you can serve it hot, warm, room temperature, or even cold with crackers or pita triangles. It is so tasty. You're really going to like it.
Nathalie will return after a word from her guest.
Hi, I'm Virginia Willis. 2 key elements in producing good food are respecting equipment and respecting ingredients. Keeping the cooktop and oven clean are major parts of respecting one's equipment. It's the kind of thing that must be done on a regular basis because postponing the inevitable would only make it more difficult. After each use, the stove and oven should be cleaned and dried. Many ovens have non-stick enamel sides and bottom intended to simplify cleaning. Some ovens are self-cleaning. Things are burned off at high temperatures. Catalytic clean convection ovens such as this circulate the air at 60 parts per minute, trapping the soil in the filter. The filter can easily be removed and put into the dishwasher. Oven door can also be removed for ease of cleaning. More conventional ovens can use commercial products. It's very important to follow the instructions on the label carefully. These chemicals are harsh and can hurt you if not used correctly. You should always wear rubber gloves. Do not combine chemicals ever. A preferred method that is less harmful to the environment, according to the Non-Toxic Home and Office by Deborah Lynn Dodd, is to combine 2 tablespoons of liquid soap, not detergent, and 2 teaspoons of borax in a spray bottle with warm water to fill. Make sure the salts dissolve completely. Spray the cold oven close to the surface so no fumes get into the air. Once again, wear glasses and gloves. Leave on for 20 minutes. Then scrub with steel wool and non-chlorine scouring powder. For impossible baked-on black spots, try a pumice stone or carefully use a razor blade to scrape the spots off. You can occasionally use TSP, trisodium phosphate. It's available at hardware stores. It can be used as a grease cleaner. For cooktops, the same combination of borax soap and water can be used. Cooktops vary. Electric cooktops can be disassembled for easy cleaning. I soak the parts in warm soapy water or throw them in the dishwasher. Gas cooktops can also be disassembled and washed. In general, most parts will come off and can be thrown into the dishwasher and can be wiped down with warm soapy water. And then should be wiped off with a paper towel. Currently, many cooktops feature the grill. And these parts can also be removed and thrown into the dishwasher as well. This will lift up. The lava rocks, once dirty, can either easily be removed or, for easier cleanup, Water should be put in this pot to replace the lava rocks. You should not use abrasive or aggressive cleaning agents such as metal cleansers or metal scouring pads.
For nearly a century, Le Creuset's colorful French cookware has been a favorite in kitchens around the world. From its bold finishes and uncompromised quality to its easy-to-clean materials, the brand's range of iconic products are as easy to use as they are to love.
I want to show you now some root vegetables with the pork tenderloin, and I like this too because you can reheat it. I also have more vegetables in this dish than I used to when I served meat. I've cut back on serving quite as much meat and more vegetables just because I get so many questions about it and so much interest in that kind of thing. There are many possible places to stop in this recipe, so you can make it just whenever you have time. Saute your onions for both dishes at the same time, for instance, and then divide them and save these onions till you're ready for them when they're cooked. Now, the first thing that you want to do is to cut your onions into 1-inch cubes, and I've got mine over here cooking already, so I can move them out. So I'm going to cut my onion in half, put the cut side away from me so I don't cry, and then cut them into cubes. And I'm just doing this more and more. Don't remove that root all the way. I'm doing my onions in cubes more and more just out of laziness and because I think they're a little more interesting and because I really enjoy the flavor when they're a little larger. So I think that's it as much as anything else. So just go ahead, cut like that and like this. It's just easier. And probably I could have called it a rough chunk too. And there it is, it's done. Then peel and cut your turnips in 1-inch chunks as well. If this is hot enough, what I want to do is to brown the meat. And what you can do is remove the meat, remove the onions, and brown your meat. But just because I want to get everything cooked, I'm going to go ahead and put this meat in and let it be browning. I have to slice that, and I think it's a little undercooked. So I'm going to get those all cooking, if you'll excuse me. Now go back and peel and slice a turnip. And this is what I call a turnip. Some people call what I call a rutabaga a yellow turnip. I suppose you could use that in this dish, but I wouldn't like it anywhere near as well. Go ahead and peel the whole thing. I think I should get that garlic in and cooking too. Let me just stop fooling with this and show you this. And you would do the same thing. Always just get it so that you've got a flat surface to work on. You would never cut up in your hand, would you? And when this particular turnip has some spice to it, you can smell it. So if that's the case, and it's making my eyes burn a little, usually that only happens when they're larger. But if that's the case, go ahead and blanch it first in boiling water if you want to. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal, but normally you don't need to. And then peel your sweet potatoes and cut them as well into your chunks. Let me just turn this guy here. Let's just see if it's dark yet. Nope. Probably could have had some more oil over there too, just to make it not stick. Good, okay. Now, I want to go ahead and put my turnips and my sweet potatoes and my onions and some chicken broth into an oven-proof casserole or dish. Just like that. This is very hard, you can see. So you've got some things on and cooking while you're doing the rest. And that really is the secret of getting in and out of the kitchen in an easy amount of time. Chop all your onions at one time. Try to get them all the same size if it's going to work for your recipes. Start your bread first. Get your meat on and browning while you're chopping your vegetables. And then do that. Here's my chicken stock, put it in there. Now I'm going to mix some chopped ginger, soy sauce, and garlic, and let me just show you how to do that. I might as well throw this in too. Now I've even added more vegetables than the recipe called for. You can see how that happens. Who can ever say what one is? All right, now here's my garlic. I'm just going to give it a swack with the knife, peel it, chop it, and this is something else you can do a whole bunch at one time. If I were you, I would chop all my garlic when I brought it home from the store fresh, put it in a little oil and keep it in the refrigerator, and pull out my garlic when I need it. Just figure out what one garlic clove is to you, and that was a nice big full garlic clove. So go ahead and combine some chopped ginger. Let me show you how to do that. Slice off a piece of ginger. I usually say the size of a quarter, but that looks like it's a little tough to me, so I'm going to save that for another time, or maybe just stick that in the refrigerator in some dry sherry or some sherry vinegar and leave it in there till I need it. You just chop it and then work your knife right around the ginger. And if you want to, you can also just grate your ginger with one of those little graters. Chop it. So I've got all that, ginger, garlic. How bad could it be to have too much garlic? Some soy sauce and some Chinese 5-spice powder. That just comes in the spice section of the grocery store. If you don't see it there, then sometimes there's an oriental section. But this is a combination of anise, star anise, fennel, cinnamon, Szechuan pepper, and cloves. And you can make this all ahead to this point if you want to. This is a nice all-purpose kind of a rub for meat that you can have on hand, and then rub it over your meat whenever you want to. Now, when you take it and put it on your browned tenderloin, I don't want to confuse you, so there's this one. Pretend it's browned on both sides. Rub it all over, and you should have 2 tenderloins for this, and put them in there. And I probably should have rubbed them on the raw tenderloin and browned them all over. I forgot. So rub them on the raw tenderloin, brown them all over. I was just in such a hurry to get that in there. And then put them on top of your vegetables. Season it to taste with salt and pepper, and I probably would just salt the vegetables and not the meat. Add some pepper here. That chicken stock, by the way, is canned. I don't think I'd use fresh in this dish. Why would I use something so nice and fresh at that point? Cover it and bake it at 350 degrees until the pork reaches an internal temperature of about 160 degrees, which is about 30 to 40 minutes if you have just browned it. Then you would pull it out, and it would be all nice and done. And here are my vegetables here, and here's this. But what I've got here is I wanted just to show you how to slice the vegetables. So go ahead here. Don't use your hands, of course. Use your tongs or something like that to slice your meat. Or you can slice it much, much thinner if you'd like. Now, pork is done when it reaches an internal temperature of 140 degrees. If there were trichinosis, which I understand that there are no trichinosis able to survive if tenderloin or pork has been frozen, and there really are almost none in America anyway. But if you get pork that's shipped interstate, it's going to be killed, so don't worry about that. Now, you remove your pork, slice it, set it aside, put your vegetables back in the oven until they're tender, which might take you 10 to 15 minutes depending on how they are. And then you slice your meat, mix it with the vegetables, or do what I've done here. Put it on a platter and surround it with your lovely vegetables. I have to show you this spicy asparagus salad very, very quickly. It also has sort of Chinese overtones to it. Chop some green onions and peel and blanch some asparagus, which means run it into boiling water for just about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how thin it is, and then mix green onions, soy sauce, rice wine vinegar, olive oil, chopped garlic, some sesame oil, oriental sesame oil, some chili oil, some hot pepper flakes, some sugar. Just mix it all together. How bad could that be? Pour it over your cooked asparagus. That's delicious. And chill it for at least 2 hours. I cook my asparagus in a frying pan. For a variation, you could use blanched green beans or Chinese yard beans. It's just fabulous.
How bad can it be, asks Nathalie about the wonderful array of colors, textures, and tastes in today's menu of spicy eggplant spread, the unusual main dish of root vegetables with pork tenderloin, and a wonderful, refreshing, spicy asparagus salad. An irresistible and easy recipe for nearly French bread is the bonus of a menu featuring dishes with a real feeling of abundance.